So this is the all new iPhone Air and it retails for $9.99. I got it in the sky blue color and we're going to do a quick unboxing, give you my first impressions and help you decide if this might be a phone worth ordering for you and picking up now that it's available officially. So what is up guys, Nick here helping you to master your technology, and you can see just by looking at the image on the box, this one is going to be a super slim phone. You'll see just like the other iPhone boxes, we do have whatever color you go with, it's going to show in an Apple logo the color of the phone and also in the iPhone trademark right there. You can also see right here that there's going to be a camera control button, even though this is super slim, and all of the internals as well as the camera is going to be housed up in here, most of it, besides the battery. So that's pretty neat engineering there. It's pretty much a marvel of engineering. You'll see up here on the top, if we go ahead and pull off, it's going to be a real quick, easy unboxing with these new iPhones. Also, another thing I noticed, you probably can't see it too well here on camera if you didn't put them side by side, but the iPhone Air's box is also thinner than every other iPhone just because this phone doesn't take up much space. So I'm sure Apple's loving they can get more of these on a shipping container. I would if I was Apple. Let's go ahead and pull this up here and see what we have in the box, which we know what's in there, but it's basically just this. Pretty much every iPhone is going to give you this USB-C cable and it's going to give you an iPhone warranty guide. We're not getting much anymore. The complete experience, you have to purchase some other accessories, which Apple is glad to sell you when you are checking out. They will ask you if you want some accessories for the phone, cases, AirPods, watches, you know the drill. Let's go ahead and get our first look at the edges. This thing is striking. Let me tell you that. And I did look at all the colors. I wanted the sky blue because I think that MacBook in blue, the Air looks amazing. And I think this is an amazing color as well. Not just because it's the marketing color, but because I looked at all of them. The black to me doesn't really make this phone shine too much. The white is kind of like, they've had white phones a lot. And the gold one, not my favorite. So I went with this one. Let's go ahead and pull this off and see how it sounds. And you can see not much in the way of how that sounds, but let's go ahead and boot this thing up. And I got to tell you, on first impressions, the lightness is incredible for the size of the screen. 6.5 inches. You are looking at one strikingly thin phone for that screen size. Now, the only thing I can compare this to, I think that's actually a competitor on the market, is going to be the Galaxy S25 Edge. We'll show you that later. But Apple has been talking about how this Fusion camera might just seem like a single camera, but because of the way they, process, they can crop it on the sensor and give you a little bit more zoom. So we'll see how that actually fares in the real world. But honestly, I don't think I'm gonna have too much of a problem with the single camera, just because the single camera is usually going to be the best one anyway, and I think it looks rather clean. Let me know your thoughts. This is one beautiful looking phone, I would say. Let me know your thoughts down below. All right, guys, so we're now in the Apple iPhone Air, and of course on the front here, you're going to find yourself 6.5 inch. It's the first time we've seen 6.5 inch on an iPhone in several years. To me, it feels like a really good sweet spot because you're getting a nice big display, but you're not having to carry around that bulk that you're going to find on a larger iPhone. One of the cons of that, though, is that you might get less battery life because this does have, just a smaller overall capacity battery. So that is something to keep in mind. You are going to get more on something like an iPhone 17 Pro Max, or maybe even some of the other 17 models. We'll have to see how it stacks up in the real world, but I still think it's going to be enough for most people to get through their average workday and be able to get a charge when needed. But we will be looking a little bit closer at that. Next thing I want to take a look at here first to get things started is the settings. We're going to see how much storage we get out of the box with this one. Now, the other ones I've been talking about, they've taken about 30 gigs, and this one is no different, right around 30 gigabytes. Do keep in mind, straight out of the box, if you're getting an iPhone currently on this first batch of shipping, these phones are needing a software update right out of the gate. So they didn't ship them with the iOS 26 that they just released. So we're going to go ahead and have to do a quick update when you do get this phone out of the box. Keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and take a look at the camera. So if we look at the camera, we go to continue. You can see you can set up photographic styles on here. So we can choose our styles. You can use standard or you can customize them to be amber, gold, rose gold, bright, neutral, cool rose, and there's plenty you can choose. I tend to leave it on standard for testing because I don't want any results looking different than what it would produce naturally. So let's go ahead and hit here. You can see in the camera you do have live, different styles, timers, but right here you'll see there's no ultra wide. So if you like yourself a very ultra wide shot, this phone is going to have sacrifices. If you do like a lot of zoom, you're not going to be too disappointed. You can go 10 times. So I think that's going to be a lot or enough for a lot of people who want this thin factor. 10x is a respectable amount. It's just not having that ultra wide to me might be an issue for me. I really like ultra wide cameras. Now, if you go over here to the video, you'll see right here that you can do 4K 60, 4K 24, and you got time lapse, slow motion. You know the drill. Here's the good thing. Here's the good news though. For those people who really like the center stage camera, you're going to have this new center stage camera just like the other iPhones in the lineup. So this front facing camera is still the 18 megapixel, and a lot of people do tend to use the front facing camera on the iPhone. So this is going to be a very, very big deal for those of you who've been trying to frame photos, usually a selfie stick or something to get the photo looking just right. And this is going to eliminate that problem mostly here on the iPhone Air. So this is a really neat overall camera system they put on the front of these new iPhone 17s, and the Air is no different. Also, what I want to look at over time is see if the Air is going to get a little bit warmer because, where are you going to disperse heat in such a thin phone? We'll have to see how this thing does do when I am pushing it a little bit harder. Although it does come with the same A19 Pro chip you're going to find in the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. And this phone does replace the iPhone Plus in the lineup, and it's going to have probably worse battery life, but it's way thinner than that phone and more easy to manage with having the ProMotion display on board as well. So there's no more 60 hertz this year. Finally, all iPhones come with the ProMotion, and this one is no exception. Now, if we go over here in the settings, let's go into settings really quickly, and let's see what kind of camera settings we do have on board in this phone. So we'll go back. We're going to go into the camera. We already talked about photographic styles. If we go down here, you can record video up to 4K 60. If we back it out, you have different formats. You can do the 24 megapixel mode or the 12 megapixel mode. It's really your options. You'll see right here the Fusion camera allows you to go between 1 to 1.4x, 35 or 28 millimeter lenses, and lens correction. Now, you're not going to see any pro modes though. So if you're looking for the professional RAW formats and stuff like that of the pros, you're going to want to go with an iPhone Pro. So those of you on the search for the best camera on the market, you want to go with Pro Max. Those are going to be the phones for you. They are really, really top notch in that department. But I think honestly that I would probably be okay with this camera, even though it's a single camera, just to use the super thin design. I feel like the next iPhone Air might just have a dual camera right next to it if they could figure out how to do that. I mean, the Edge already has a dual camera and it's pretty thin as well, the Galaxy S25 Edge. So I don't see why they couldn't make that happen. All right, so let's get some close-up shots of this phone since it is a brand new design. So they went back to the shiny look on the sides. While it is titanium, of course, you're going to pick up a few fingerprints on this one. It's probably going to be more noticeable even on like the black iPhone Air, probably least noticeable on the silver model, but I could see it rather obvious there. So I'm not so sure I'm a fan of that. I kind of like these newer iPhones that don't have no fingerprints showing, but some people think this shiny look is more fancy looking. So some will like it. You could see those antenna lines small there. Action button crammed over there onto the frame. You'll see yourself the volume rockers and then this little plateau over here, which is going to house some of the components. You can see the camera, and man, this phone, I got to tell you, there's a power button, camera control. At the bottom, they crammed in the USB-C. Man, this phone is just striking. It does have one thing to note though. I think it has a single speaker, which is definitely not going to be maybe as loud as some of the other phones out there. I also see only 2 holes here. Usually other iPhones have more. But if you're into a minimalist, clean, simple, ultra thin design, lightweight, big phone, Apple has finally delivered something here. And I personally am pretty impressed with this. I just like seeing like something new because we've been kind of seeing the same thing over and over again. And this feels like the most new looking thing in the lineup. I'm glad they launched this phone. I personally like this more than the Plus models, mostly because they had 60 hertz displays. I wonder how many people would have liked the Plus version of the 17 though, with a 60 hertz, because 17 seems like great value, and then they dropped the Plus. Some people might have liked the Plus version of that, honestly. So let me know your thoughts about that one down below. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and take a look at the wallpapers here for the iPhone Air. And if I swipe through here, I go to add new wallpaper. You do have the iOS 26 wallpapers on here, which is going to come with pretty much every iPhone that runs iOS 26. But here are going to be the set that comes for the iPhone Air. And I'm not sure I'm a big fan of those wallpaper pack they included, but I feel like the ones on the Pro looked a little bit neater. But there you go. You can go ahead and put those and be on your way. So that actually looks pretty good. It contrasts the icons well. iOS 26 bouncing around over here. But yeah, that's basically the included wallpapers that are new. The rest are just going to be the ones that come from iOS 26. Pretty much all the same stuff. You'll find them basically every other iPhone. So yeah, that's the first look at the wallpapers on here. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and take a look at the iPhone Air versus the S25 Edge in terms of the, let me brighten my screen up a little bit, in terms of the overall look and shape. So S25 Edge 6.7 inch, so it's a little bit bigger, but I like that Apple went with the 6.5, which makes this phone much more compact. Also rounded edges on this phone and thinner. So I personally think that the Samsung looks cleaner with its matte edges. It's a cleaner, like less fingerprinty phone. But the back camera, I don't know. It's really it's up for debate. I think the iPhone Air, it looks a little more premium overall, but feel-wise, I think the Edge feels nice with its matte texture. This one feels grippier though, and it feels like you're not going to drop it because of those edges. I don't know. This feels like it feels pretty secure to hold. And you might be wondering, if it's so thin, is it so cheap to bend? The structure feels pretty solid. I'm not going to go bend my iPhone Air, but it feels pretty solid as I'm giving it some give here. I don't feel too worried about it. It feels like a pretty solid reinforced frame right there. And let's go ahead and compare it to the other larger iPhone in the lineup, the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And you could see the Pro Max is your typical slab beast phone right there, whereas the Air is just so much different. Look how much thinner that is. It's so much different. So these are like for totally different customers here, for sure. The Apple iPhone Air and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Let me know which style you like, the more slab style of the iPhone 17 Pro Max or the thin and light, beautiful, simplistic, minimal iPhone Air. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the speed test, the comparisons, the should you buys. You know the drill. I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.